Thank you.
Welcome back, NoDQ Galaxy, to a brand new edition of the NoDQ review number 306. I am the moderator, Virtue, being joined by this week's panel, elite panel of the NoDQ review. Aaron Rift, Big G is here, JJ, the Renegade, is back, and Gino. Gentlemen, what's going on? JJ, I'll start with you.
Well, it's good to be here. Good to be seen, Virtue. Thank you for having me back, you and Aaron both. It's been a minute since I've been around, so even though we're 6 episodes in now, congratulations on 300, because I wasn't able to be part of that big celebration. But just looking forward to getting into whatever juicy topics you've got for us this week.
We're in our Tuesday night slot for a while now during football, so 7 p.m. each Tuesday. I'm pretty sure, Aaron, we won't have to change that at all going forward. But we'll see how we do. And we just did a show Thursday, so we just have a couple topics tonight. So NoDQ Galaxy, feel free to bring something up if you want us to go on a longer show. But you know me, I'm not opposed to under an hour. Gino, what's going on?
I am doing well. Happy to be back. Absolutely. I like the topics that we're going to discuss today, and I like the time slot. Tuesday night's great. We're not conflicting, and looking forward to talking with this elite panel.
Stay tuned. You know how it goes. All right, Big G, clap your hands together.
I'm happy to be here. It's good to be back. I'm doing pretty good. Work, school. I was on the 300th episode, so here I am back on the 6th episode of 300. So I'm ready to get this ball rolling, baby.
Okay, the 6th episode of 300. Okay, how are you? I think we know what you mean.
No, yeah.
Aaron, what's going on?
I'm doing well. The ball continues to roll with the NoDQ review. Walter is actually not on tonight. He's in the chat room, but he's got his presence felt with us tonight. And Big G, happy to have you back as always. And Gino is becoming a regular now. Great to have JJ on for the first time in a while. Love the Chucky shirt. It's Halloween season. We just came off AEW's WrestleDream, so we'll be talking about that momentarily. And then later on, we'll be talking about the Bloodline, what's going to happen with the Bloodline heading into Survivor Series. Stay tuned for that discussion. Virtue, let's go ahead and get this review started.
So before we talk about AEW, Jon Moxley winning the AEW World title and the fate of Daniel Bryan, or that's what I like to call him, but Bryan Danielson going forward, I want to bring up an impromptu topic that I know everybody's got a little something to say about, and that's, can we believe that Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, will have did everything that he's done so far since earlier this year, and then not be part of WrestleMania in Las Vegas next year? I think that he would have planned around all of this. And so just what's your thoughts about hearing some stupid scuttlebutt that, he's not planned of right now? Well, of course he's not, because he's a big surprise. But I think we all can say that Dwayne will be part of WrestleMania. Just quick takes on this. Big G, I'll start with you. You know me. I will stop watching if he ends up out of this year's WrestleMania. Like, he'd have to be sick, something bad happen. I ain't buying it otherwise.
He's got a couple movies coming out, Red 1 and Moana 2 coming out in the holiday season. But other than that I can really think of, maybe Fast 11. But other than that, I wouldn't be surprised if he does show up at WrestleMania 41. Even if I'm not saying he's gonna wrestle at WrestleMania 41, but he could show up at WrestleMania 41 and have some kind of interjection.
You're what? Like, you literally you see a dirt sheet, right? A guy that's been probably wrong 70 to 75% of the time during his whole career. But, wrestling fans, he's right 25% of the time, so this guy's the gospel. You are literally not going to go out on that limb like me and say that he is going to be in the main event of WrestleMania. You're saying an appearance? Like what?
I'm okay. I will
Like
say
I said,
he'll
I
have.
need to
I
hear
will
something
say
bad. He needs to get hit by a truck, shot by a bullet, like the whole thing.
if
that's happening
everything,
with,
if everything is good with him, movie schedule wise and everything like that, then yes, he will have a match at
he's on the
WrestleMania
board of
41.
directors. He made $30 million
Yeah.
from TKO. You don't tell me this that hasn't all been planned out and like
I'm
whatever.
sure it has been.
This is big. This is big deal. This stuff
Yeah.
with him now in WWE with this merger to TKO with Netflix coming. This is like Hollywood level for him right now. It's not back of the burner wrestling like it normally would be in Hollywood's first. This is a spot. Some of these TKO guys are some of the primetime guys in Hollywood and agents and this and that. I just can't believe that people see something and they want to backpedal just a little bit. If he makes an appearance, no, he's going to be in the main event of WrestleMania. And like I said, I'm 99% confident in that. I throw the 1% out if something happens, injury, sick, whatever. All right. We're just going to go around quickly here. Big G threw me out for a tangent there. Gino?
Yeah. So yeah, we all saw the report, from he should not be named. And I just thought something really jumped off of that report to me. Like The Rock, would want a plan to keep himself in aesthetic shape. Like I'm pretty sure The Rock's up at 3 a.m. every day, keeping himself ready to go. He's coming off of filming a movie where he's a boxer or a UFC fighter. I don't think he's letting himself get out of shape. So I don't understand. It just doesn't add up. And like you said, he's on the board of directors. He had to come save WrestleMania last year. There's no way he's just going to be like, nah, I don't need to be involved or advertised for this massive
while it's
WrestleMania.
Hot, why this angle with the Cody and the Bloodline, it's all hot. Just showed up and did the 1, 2, 3. Oh, well, we'll skip WrestleMania. You know what I mean? He's smart enough to not even do these other things unless there was a greater plan. All right. Anything else you want to say, Gino?
Yeah, it's just, unless, assuming this is true, Triple H I don't know when The Rock's going to show up. Maybe The Rock is just going into business for himself. I don't believe that, but that's what the report seems to be indicating. So,
all right, JJ.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Virtue. I seriously doubt The Rock at his age is going to make these casual appearances just for no reason. I still have a hard time buying the fact that CM Punk didn't have a deal until he went into Survivor Series. But that's what everybody wants us to believe. But The Rock has to be involved, whether it's Rock Roman or Rock Cody or a triple threat. Some combination of those players is going to be main eventing WrestleMania.
Yeah, and I wouldn't put it past The Rock's people to have a mole tell Meltzer that, he's busy. And then, again, it creates an element of surprise again because the fans that will bite into that, and then all of a sudden Rock's headlining Mania. What? So I love when they're played with. I love when they're given wrong information to put out there on purpose, and then it's a complete, against what they reported. I love that. I wish we had more of it. Aaron, any thoughts before we move on to talk about some AEW, which we did not last Thursday?
I was very surprised by that report. I was fully expecting and still am expecting The Rock to be part of WrestleMania. If he was not doing WrestleMania, I do not think he would have shown up at Bad Blood because he would be hyping up and teasing something that he couldn't deliver on. People are expecting that triple threat. And I'm sure The Rock learned from Vince McMahon. That was Vince's old philosophy, that you don't tease something on television that you can't deliver on. So, yeah, I find it very hard to believe that The Rock would not be doing a match at WrestleMania unless, like you said, he gets hurt, which could always happen. He could be training. Remember, it happened to Cody. Cody got hurt training before that Hell in a Cell match. But I don't see the movie schedule being a factor in it. I think if he was not doing WrestleMania, it would be something else like an injury, as you mentioned.
All right. So we had to get that out of the way, clear the air. And I'm still under the belief that people all triple threat because, wrestling fans have to try to put logic to everything. I still don't think that will happen. I think that would be a lazy way out, an emergency plan if, for whatever reason, They don't want Rock to have a solo match, to have some help in a match, but I still expect the Reigns Rock night 2. However the Cody stuff happens, whatever. But let's move on to AEW, because at WrestleDream over the weekend, Jon Moxley became the AEW World Champion. Is this 3-time for him now? 4. Jesus. Remember he had that one time where he beat Punk. Didn't he beat Punk pretty quickly for it? And
Yes.
anyway, he beat Bryan Danielson, who now we have to speculate what's going on with him. Is this for him to come to part-time? Is he going to be a lifer for AEW now? Probably wouldn't go back to WWE, but you never say never. So let's get our thoughts here on Moxley being the face of AEW. I mean, let's face it now, 4-time champion over the course of AEW's existence. They pushed him as the top guy the most now. You got to think that he is the face of AEW, at least for now, in Tony Khan's eyes. JJ, I'll start with you on this one. Your favorite AEW.
I'm still kind of trying to scratch my head about this, because I don't buy Mox as a 4-time champion. I just don't. He seems to be the guy that's like, he's almost becoming like a John Cena in the fact of, in case of emergency, get the belt to Moxley. In case of emergency, break glass, give the belt to John Cena. You know, he'll be able to do something with it for a little while. Bryan Danielson, I get the desire to retire in your hometown, your home state of Washington, you know, go home, be with Bree and the kids. But the way that they did the angle really kind of leaves it open-ended. And it's like, do you really want to see Bryan ride off to the sunset without getting his revenge on the BCC, and especially on Wheeler Yuta for the way that he turned his back and got involved in everything? I think this is going to continue with Bryan at least until World's End in December, and then New Year, retired, maybe make the one-off appearance for something like a Forbidden Door or an All-In Wembley, or if WrestleDream's going to be in Washington every year, then maybe come back to those shows. But you gotta figure that Bryan is gonna get his revenge in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's Shane McMahon leading this BCC, whether Moxley has just gone rogue doing this for himself. I've seen people online speculating that maybe the BCC and the Elite are now forming a union. God, I hope that's not a thing, because I don't want to hate the BCC. I actually like those guys for the most part. And just putting them anywhere near the Young Bucks is going to turn me away from them. So I am curious to see how things go, but I don't think it's over, at least until World's End, Virtue.
And again, we have a pattern of wrestlers going back to WWE, and it's worked. Top guys. There's Vince McMahon is no longer there. It's a different company. Triple H is the guy in charge who, if I remember correctly, he put Bryan over. I know that was probably Vince McMahon's decision, but at WrestleMania and then the whole WrestleMania 30, again, you know he's got to be in the Hall of Fame at some point, and at least when he's way done, you know he's going to come back for at least that. Never say never, because we have enough evidence now with Cody, with Punk, that Bryan could have felt it's right. The money could have been right. Again, not expected with kind of what he has to do at AEW, probably behind the scenes as well, from what we know. But all you need is a little chance, JJ. All right, yeah, Gino, go ahead. Go ahead, JJ.
I was going to say, I definitely see him staying on, maybe jumping into creative now that Jimmy Jacobs has been let go over the past week, possibly filling the creative role. But
now think about that. However, he's not with AEW anymore, Jimmy Jacobs. I think he's got a pretty creative mind. He came up with some good Jericho stuff back in WWE. Yet, that's the guy who was actually a worker, a wrestler in the Indies. And yet, Tony Khan chooses to keep Will Washington, a dirt sheet mark, in there as his right-hand man. And Jimmy Jacobs, for whatever reason, is not there anymore. That just proves my point that it'll never work out there at the level that Tony Khan thinks his company is. because he just can't have the people around him that are really creative because it's all about wrestling matches. And I don't know why. I'm just saying, if I had those people to work with me to create wrestling booking, I'm picking Jimmy Jacobs, and he's going to be like that guy. Hey, let's go. Get you on TV maybe if you want to. I don't know. I had to mention that. Anyway, Gino, I'm going to come over to you talking about Moxley, Danielson, go.
Yeah. So, first thing I want to mention, so I don't forget it, is that if this was Bryan's last match, that would mean his last match on Raw was against Rollins, his last match on SmackDown was against Reigns, and his last match in AEW was against Moxley. So all 3 Shield members. I thought that was a pretty cool little stat there. Now, apparently the plan was always in Bryan's mind to put Moxley over for the championship. So it looks like that went according to plan. Now, with his health and with his knowledge of the industry, he probably wants to be a producer, booker, something creative. If I'm AEW, I do everything I can to keep him there for as long as possible, try and keep him happy. He doesn't have to be at every show. He can be doing this behind the scenes. As a fan, I would rather him come to WWE, get that Legends contract, Hall of Fame induction, and then maybe even produce for them. I was a huge fan of the Planets Champion and that like Eco Championship title belt, and you really can't find them anywhere. So I wonder, a little part of me would be like, if he goes back, maybe they'll make those for sale. So I would love to see him, like Virtue said, Hall of Fame should be inevitable. And that would just be a major pop. Now I saw somebody in the chat thinks Royal Rumble. I don't know if he's wrestling anymore, but it'd be such a feel-good moment. And
Dude,
I can't see him passing that up.
Like, yeah, Ring of Honor, Indies, but like his claim to fame, he became a millionaire because of WWE, and he had a good run there, and then it halted with injury, retired, came back, and was very, very good at what he did, and had big matches at WrestleMania and main evented. So, like, I can't, like, it's definitely a possibility. Again,
yeah,
right? Tony Khan, he could be leveraging this to get a nice little fat contract, and Tony Khan, don't go. You can be part of creative, but I'll pay you like a wrestler. That's brilliant. Good working. Like, I give credit to all these wrestlers who get banked from Tony Khan, even the ones I don't like, because they're working them. Like the Bucks, great. You're working the money mark, and you're setting your family and getting jobs for other wrestlers. And so, like, I will always commend that portion of it, even if I don't like their creative and the wrestling, some of that stuff. But nonetheless, Gino, thank you. Big G is happy to be here. I do not want him to fall asleep over there and start checking on the Steelers next week's matchup. Go.
Yeah, so I was like JJ at the end of WrestleDream. I was like kind of scratching my head. Moxley went on the title. Okay, cool. They're trying to build up this BCC into like this monster faction, and where they're gonna go from with there. But I figured, after the match, Bryan would get up, he would get a standing ovation, and end his career in Washington. But now they did the angle again where Yuta this time choked him out with the plastic bag. I don't understand. I mean, yeah, it's a storyline and it's fake, but why do you have to go out on national television and like choke somebody out on TV with the plastic bag?
Didn't Funk and Flair do it? Like, we're paying tribute.
Yeah, but anyways, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Bryan goes from here if he does come back to AEW. If memory serves me correct, his contract came up, right, Aaron, and he was just on the handshake deal. Okay, so I don't see him. I mean, maybe one more match, but with his neck and everything like that. But then, I do kind of want to see him go back to WWE and end his career there in the Hall of Fame, and maybe have one more match in WWE, because that's where, like Virtue said, lately, everybody who's been in AEW who wasn't WWE went back to WWE. So there is that pattern. So it'll be interesting in the long run to see where everything goes out. We just have to see how it plays out. That's all.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, like when I think of Moxley, I still will always think of the Shield. But
yeah,
he's he obviously now has moved on. He's Mox. He's like the hardcore death match wrestler, AEW top guy, and I don't see him ever going back anytime soon. But man, one more Shield reunion down the road, as they're all like in their 40s or pushing 50 would be cool. I just want to talk about that since we talk about Bryan. But yeah, Moxley,
I do have one more
he's
thing.
the guy right now there in AEW. What's that?
Is it me or is it Danielson been more injury prone in AEW ever because of his wrestling style?
He's been almost as injury prone as right when he became WWE champion. Now, when he came back from retirement and he was doing the Planets champion, whatever he was doing during that run, that was very sustainable. I don't remember hearing about much injury. But yeah, AEW,
I just feel like anybody who goes to AEW is more injury prone.
It seems like he's been more injury prone since his second run in WWE. But,
okay.
Just my observation. Aaron, your turn.
Shout out to the reliable one, Walter Cruz, who sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Walter. Says,
a spot.
Yep. Bryan Danielson's neck is probably worse than they thought. I think Daniel was supposed to win and maybe had a checkup and couldn't put off surgery. That's certainly a possibility. I was surprised that he lost the title to Moxley at the pay-per-view. I figured he would go on and maybe put over somebody who's younger, put over a Darby Allin or put over Swerve Strickland. John Moxley doesn't need the world title, but apparently Bryan wanted to go with Moxley. And to me, this whole angle they did is setting up a rematch. It's just a matter of when. If he has surgery, it might not be for a while. But I do think Bryan is staying in AEW. I don't see him going to WWE. I think he'll be back at some point, and he will get his revenge on John Moxley. It's just a matter of when. And the question is, by the time he comes back, will people really care about seeing him get revenge? That remains to be seen. That's why, like, if he's going away for surgery, I think it's even more of a strange move to have him do this angle, because if he's going to be gone for a year, look what happened with Adam Cole and MJF. Adam Cole got hurt, and that pretty much ruined all the heat they had for that storyline. And then Adam Cole comes back, and I don't really care about Adam Cole versus MJF at this point, especially with the roles reversed. I think too much time has passed, and they basically just they ruined the potential of that with Adam Cole getting hurt. And with Bryan, if he's gone for a long time, I don't know if there's going to be the interest in seeing him come back for revenge. We'll see what happens, but I was a little surprised by what happened at WrestleDream, and I don't know if it's going to really make any difference. Like, I just want to see Shane McMahon, as I've said. Like, I'm waiting for him to show up.
What do you want? What do you want from Shane when you see him? Just the presence?
I want to see like a heavy invasion storyline, like an NWO or 2001 Invasion, but like just shake things up and have people's jaws drop and be like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. So you're glued to the set. You want to see what happens next. And, Dynamite becomes a must-watch show, unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen. Shane McMahon's there. He's going to turn everything upside down. I just want them to completely flip the script on what they've been doing. But I don't think they're going to do it because Tony Khan wants to keep the fan base he has and keep them happy. But I'd love to see just a huge shakeup, something completely different that nobody's expecting with Shane, and just get people talking, generate some buzz.
Yeah, that would help the old website and the old review for sure.
We need something, man. We need something where we're watching it and people are telling their friends, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened on Dynamite. You have to tune in and watch it.
Yeah. Gino, did you have something? I saw your hand go up there.
Yeah. I mean, to piggyback off of what was Aaron was saying real quick, I mean, I can just envision him coming out and being like, that's right, there's a McMahon in a, you know what I mean? Like, kind of play on how he did the contract doesn't read Vince, it reads Shane. I could see him doing something like that. And it would be cool maybe if he like got some of the former WWE talent to be like, you can, like Aaron was saying with the invasion angle. Put my hand up though, because I've been thinking about this for a while and I'm not sure. I know you had said that Mox isn't going to go back to WWE or probably won't, but if he does, they've been really keeping their names from AEW coming over. You think he'd go by Moxley or would go back to Dean Ambrose if he had come back to?
I just
Who
want
knows
to
on
add
that
something
one?
to
Yes,
that.
Aaron, and then JJ can go.
Yeah, I just think that they need to take a chance. They're relying on their usual format. Dynamite feels like the same show. Like it hasn't evolved. It hasn't really changed. I want them to take a chance and take a risk. They're just going to be where they're at, and I feel like that's what they're going to do. We're going to have the wrestling matches every week. They're going to book these matches, the same format, same thing. It's gotten way too predictable. And what I liked about the peak of the Monday Night War era was not knowing what to expect. Like you tune in the show, you don't know what's going to happen. Like anything's a possibility. And you can say this about WWE programming too. Sometimes it gets very predictable. They find a formula and they just stick to that formula and they run it into the ground. And that's the problem with AEW right now. It just needs a change, at least with WWE, with Vince McMahon out of the picture. Like they did make some changes to the production, the way they shot things, and just giving it a different vibe, adding a different presentation to it. Even that would be good, but I think they really need a strong storyline that is compelling, so you want to keep tuning in week after week, and they just don't have that right now. So the answer is I want to see Shane McMahon come in and just everything changes, and it's a huge moment in wrestling history that changes the business.
Well said. All right, JJ, I hope you didn't forget what you were going to say.
No, I was going to do two things. I was going to piggyback a little bit on what Aaron was saying as far as Shane McMahon, because we discussed this a little bit on the Saturday Shenanigans this past week, and having kind of a pseudo debut at Full Gear where there's a man in a chair and all you see is it being shot from the back, and the BCC come up to talk to the guy, kind of Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget like. You really only can see his hand on the chair there resting. No real reveal of who it is. You can even distort his voice a little bit and then have him make his debut at World's End, because it's the end of AEW's World as we know it. And then you still have to wait to really hear what he has to say to the first Dynamite of the new year.
I like that.
And then the other thing I was going to say is it would have been really poetic, considering the way Bryan kind of broke onto WWE TV with choking Justin Roberts with his necktie. If one of the BCC guys had gone over to him at ringside, taken his tie off, and then instead of using the Ziploc bag to choke Bryan, choked him with Justin Roberts' tie.
Yeah, that's a nice detail right there. I like that. Maybe you should be in Will Washington's place.
I've been saying forever, if Tony Khan wants to get at me, ROWJJWilliams@gmail, like for real.
But I
got
that.
ideas.
I think it would be a lot better than what they did for World's End last year. And you could spend a couple months hyping it up, and this time the hype would be worth it because it's actually Shane McMahon. A McMahon in AEW should be monumental history. It shouldn't just be, oh, look, it's Shane McMahon, and then next week you're kind of over it. You move on to the next thing. No, Shane McMahon shows up. Holy shit, AEW is never going to be the same again.
If that happens, do you think Triple H and Stephanie would feel the need to bring Stephanie back on WWE television?
Probably.
It depends. If AEW didn't do anything,
I mean, I know they want away from the McMahon name right now, obviously, but I don't know. Just that family's all about ego.
If Shane actually made a difference and they were serious about doing something significant, I don't want Shane to show up there and then he's just standing there, just becoming another guy. You know what I mean? He's got to be a really, really big deal. And they got to push him like that if they bring him in. You got to go all the way or don't even bother.
Fair enough. Anybody else on this before we move to our main event, Gino?
Yeah, like you said, Aaron, if Shane comes back, his influence needs to be felt in every storyline that they're doing. Every performer needs to be it has to kind of feel like it's got ties back to Shane being there, being a big deal. If the next segment happens and nobody cares, it's okay, well, then why should we care? Like that would be, like you said, monumental for them as the performers as well.
Yes, and the thing about the Shane part of it is that he brings more intrigue to this. Like right now, I don't really care that much about Jon Moxley's faction, and Wheeler Yuta's back in it, so that pretty much rules out the theory that it was just going to be all former WWE guys. The fact that we're talking about Shane means what they're doing right now isn't enough to get people interested. They need more. They need something, because what they're doing right now, if what they were doing was so compelling, we'd be like, they don't need Shane. Who cares? But the fact that we're talking about this and saying we should have Shane there tells you that what they're doing right now, all the heavy angles they're doing with the plastic bags and everything, it's not enough. They need more.
I just feel, to piggyback on what you're saying, Aaron, I just feel it's that Mox isn't believable as being the one calling the shots.
I agree. And they don't have a good reason to why he's done all this. Like, there needs to be something bigger that we're not aware of.
Well said. And what would a no DQ review be if we didn't talk about the Bloodline in the main event? So transitioning over from AEW, we gave you a good 20 minutes of AEW talk for you AEW fans out there. But how should WWE handle the potential reuniting of the original Bloodline? So we know we have Roman, the original tribal chief. Jimmy's back with him. And now you have Jey, who's doing his own thing as the Intercontinental Champion on Raw. But they planted some seeds on Raw with Jimmy going over there trying to talk to him. So this is the start. And we can factor in how is Heyman going to play into this as well. I don't think we need to go talk about Sami Zayn or Solo, because they were part of that original Bloodline run. But let's just talk about Roman, Jimmy, now Jey, because it's on TV that something could happen. And then we can sprinkle a little Paul Heyman in there maybe. Gina, I'll start with you on this one. Here we are now. This has been one of the longest baseball games. Actually, I think it's a doubleheader. We finished the first game when Cody won, and now we're in the second game, third inning again. Crazy. Go ahead.
It has been crazy. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to whatever the WWE decides to do with this storyline. Fridays and Mondays can't come quickly enough, it feels like. So I feel like the way they kind of go about this would be, first of all, you got to get the title off of Jey. I don't feel like he needs the Intercontinental title to do what he's going to be doing with the Bloodline. So I think that, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe there's a title match with him and Braun as soon as this Monday.
Yeah.
So I think that Braun should attack him, beat him down before the match, before the bell rings, and the ref isn't going to start the match. And Jay's like, no, I can do it. But he's hobble. He's got a hitch in his giddy up. And it's a hard fought loss. Braun wins the title back and attacks him again for maybe not accepting the handshake or feeling disrespected, and really just hammers home the point that I tried to be nice to you, and now I'm going to take your title and I'm going to take everything from you. Then obviously Jimmy would come out and make the save, and Jey and Jimmy are kind of back, but I still think that Jey would be reluctant. Yeah. He's like, I don't know if I'm going to come to SmackDown and help, whatever. And then, you get another instance where SmackDown comes, Roman's getting beaten down and outnumbered. Jimmy's getting beaten down and outnumbered. And as a complete surprise, Usos, the music hits, he comes down, makes the save to help them. But there's still a little bit of reluctancy. We have time before we get to Survivor Series. But I feel like that would be good. But he acknowledges that blood is thicker than water, hits it with the yeet, and then we are off to the races.
Yeah. Now, JJ, I'll go to you next. My one of my nemesis, Sean Garner, and this is guy. He kept telling me Roman was going to lose his title, and it took 3.5 years. Right now, and you knew it was going to happen eventually. So he probably thought he won that one, but what title reign in recent memory went 3.5 years? He's pointing out that Jey said it wants nothing to do with it. Well, no crap. That's part of the angle. This is what makes it good. Go ahead, JJ.
Yeah, that dude's been pretty much banned from every one of our channels for being a dip. So, this seems to be the only place he can reside these days. But I kind of feel like Jey needs to be the final piece of the puzzle. You know, you said you didn't really want to talk about Sammy or Paul,
No,
but
Paul's
I feel
fine.
like,
I mean, you can. I'm just.
but I feel like Sammy is going to come back before Jey does. In fact, I think Sammy is going to be the key to getting Jey back.
Yeah.
Because Sammy has always had that giant heart and been willing to forgive. When Jey got drafted to Raw, who was the first person to really accept the fact that Jey Uso was there? Sammy. You know, and then with Jay's turn, Cody kind of came around to it. And the fact that Roman has been a man of his word, you know, he had Cody's back at Bad Blood. I see these all being factors into how Jey is going to come back into things, because Jey doesn't need the bloodline right now. You know, he's been in the company 14 years and he's finally got a singles title. That's going to be his whole catalyst until we get to like the go home or 2 weeks before Survivor Series. I got this without you, Oos. What are you going to do for me now? You know, I was able to get out of the tag ranks, become a singles champion, something my brother couldn't do. Something baby brother couldn't really do because he only had the North American title for a week before he had to relinquish it. I've done what nobody else in the family other than the tribal chief could do. Why do I need you now? I did it without you.
So let me ask you this, JJ. We've talked about this for a while for the original Bloodline run. Are we going to get Dad? Are we going to get Rikishi on WWE TV again because he's a legend? He wears his heart on his sleeve with all of this on social media. And whether it's true or not, he tells his kids, don't tell me what's going to happen so I can be surprised as a wrestling fan watching it, which is kind of cool if that is the truth. You think that's it hasn't ever happened?
I don't think
this
it's
is where
happen.
You don't think?
If we didn't get Rikishi involved when Jimmy and Jay were beefing heading into WrestleMania.
But this is bringing it back together.
I understand, but that would have been a perfect time to get Rikishi involved. It's like, why are you two fighting? Y'all should be on the same side. Your blood, your brothers. And we didn't get Rikishi involved there. We didn't get Rikishi involved when Roman first turned on Jay. You know,
but
why would we get him now?
Hoffman Seeker are no longer here, and we've had appearances by them during Roman's run.
True.
What other older school legend Samoan is like Rikishi is that guy now? Just for a ramp walkout, something. I don't know. I mean,
I don't think we'll get Rikishi unless we get Haku on the other side of things.
Yeah, there's him too. But there you go. Remember, third inning again, second game of a doubleheader, JJ.
Yeah, I don't even think we're out of the first game yet, Virtue. I think we're in the seventh inning stretch. I think the seventh inning stretch was Cody winning, because just because Cody got the title doesn't mean the game's over.
I know. Roman beating Rock to me is the culmination of everything. It always will be. So.
Culmination.
Okay. But yeah, I think that Jay's going to be the final piece of the puzzle, and then come WarGames, Heyman will come out with them. And we'll find out he's been the Nick Fury all along, bringing the Avengers back together.
There you go. I like that reference. Thank you, JJ. And, raise your hand. Same with you, Gino, if something else comes about on this great bloodline topic. But now we're going to go over to, I'm going to skip Big G for now, because Aaron, I saw some super chats come in as well. So I'm going to go to Aaron, who always goes last. Big G's going to have to fold his arms and wait.
All right. That's fair enough.
That's what you get for having the cat on.
Yep. There you go. All right, so first of all, this guy Experience sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you. Appreciate it. This is from earlier, saying Shane McMahon coming in like the higher power, like Vince McMahon. Yeah, they could spend a bit of time doing that. And as JJ mentioned, the whole Dr. Claw angle, I really like the man behind the chair. Who is it? And they could spend like 2 months building that up. And
Vince Russo, remember WCW?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so it's actually something that's already been done, but I like that, like just the man behind the chair. and you see him, but you don't know who it is, but you have a feeling you know who it is, and then eventually you get that review. Anyways, the Bloodline, and I will get to Dylan's super chat here in just a moment. I think that there's a lot of possibilities as to where this can go, a lot of options. There's several people that can and possibly will get involved in it, like Paul Heyman, Sami Zayn, and Jey Uso right now is not down with it. Roman Reigns wasn't down with it on SmackDown. Jimmy's trying to make it happen. I could see the scenario where Jimmy helps Jey on Raw. Maybe Jey loses the title, and then Braun Breaker is going to try to do something to end Jey's career, and that's when Jimmy makes the save. But then Jey still turns it down and refuses help from Jimmy. Then it takes Roman Reigns coming out there and endorsing Jey Uso. In other words, acknowledging him. And that's, I think, what the key is here. Roman Reigns acknowledging Jey Uso, saying, yes, we need you. And, basically showing that respect to Jey Uso that, yes, you are not beneath me. You're actually my equal. I think that would be huge, and maybe that's what would finally make Jey join the group when Roman Reigns shows him that respect. Because Roman Reigns had everybody acknowledge Jimmy on SmackDown, yep. So he's got to do that for Jey as well, and show that Jey has value, and then maybe that's what finally gets Jey to join the team. So Dylan sent in a couple of super chats. Thank you very much, Dylan. Dylan sent in $10 and says, I think Jimmy will help Jey retain versus Braun, but Jey won't like it. Maybe Solo costing Jey his title closer to WarGames to somebody like Dominic will finally push him to at least help Roman Reigns and Jimmy. That's a possibility too. I think Braun Breaker is getting the title back. I don't see him dropping it, but there's always that possibility that Jimmy will try to help Jey, and that'll keep it going for a few more weeks, and Jey's not happy with him. So we'll see what happens with that. And then Dylan said, and then we'll get to Gino, to add, Roman Reigns is going to have to personally talk to Jey, and Sami is going to be the key to that. And that is very well what could happen here with Roman Reigns talking to Jey directly, and that's going to be what leads to it. And where Sami Zayn comes into the mix, that remains to be seen. So, Gino, what would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I just feel like it wouldn't be a very smart move for Solo to antagonize Jey when he's completely uninvolved, right? So I just don't know if that. I mean, it would make him look like a dumb heel, and it just wouldn't make much sense. As far as the Rikishi thing, obviously, I know Big Baller G, you've got to go, or you've been waiting patiently. If Rikishi was involved last year, then they wouldn't have been able to have the brother versus brother at Mania match. So I feel like that's the only reason why he wasn't involved. Plus, Braun keeps bringing up you needed your family, and they even showed Rikishi with him doing the dance early on in his career. So I feel like they're foreshadowing something with Big Quiche.
Sounds good to me.
Aaron, you still got super chats? Still your turn.
No, we're caught up, and Rikishi being involved, I feel like he is a bit of a wild card. I don't know if they feel comfortable putting him out there in that position, especially with some of the things he said on social media. Again, if they were going to use him in this storyline, I think they would have done it already. So that is an option. But Paul Heyman, I think, is a better choice, bringing him back and have him be the guy that ultimately gets everybody back together. Maybe Paul Heyman's the one that gets Roman to go to Raw and talk to Jey, and then Sami Zayn's the one that gets Jey to talk to Roman. And then you have the mediators, and then they finally bury the hatchet. Roman Reigns acknowledges Jey, and then we get the setup for Survivor Series. But I'm sure Big G's got some thoughts. I guess we'll throw it over now to Big Baller G.
I have no thoughts. Everybody pretty much said everything that could possibly happen with this Bloodline storyline.
What do you want?
Heyman's going to
obviously I want Jey and Sami to reunite with the Bloodline and get that, we got that big pop with Jimmy and Roman at Bad Blood. Just imagine the pop when Jimmy and Jey reunite having the Usos finally come back together. And I could possibly see Rikishi getting involved some way somehow too, Now, like Virtue said, he's besides him and Haku, like legendary Samoan. Thank you. But I mean, everybody had great ideas, like as soon as we heard, we saw that Jimmy came back to Roman, I'm sure all in our heads, we were thinking, all right, how is this going to plan out? Is Jey going to come back first? Is Sammy going to come back first? Like JJ said, I think Sammy is going to be the key to Jey coming back. Jey, and Gino said it too. He's got that, or no, JJ said it, my bad. He won the IC title by himself. What are you guys going to do to prove to me to help, for you guys to help me? Anyways, like I said, everybody had good ideas. I know Nathan wrote on there that none of this makes sense. Well, if none of this made sense, then, they wouldn't be doing this Bloodline storyline, Anyways, but it'll be interesting the next couple of months with Raw and SmackDown to see where this Bloodline storyline is going to go,
Is Reigns going to be on SmackDown again, or is that taped?
No, he's going to be on SmackDown.
SmackDown Live again? Yeah, man. Look at him putting in the show, putting in the work right now.
I think he's scheduled all the way through Survivor Series, as far as I think.
Yeah,
so
holidays off.
Yeah. So, but I mean, like I said, it'll be interesting. I do kind of want to see Roman acknowledge Jey like he did Jimmy, and maybe even acknowledge Sammy, because Sammy had a lot to do in the Bloodline too. So.
Yeah,
and even Paul Heyman, acknowledge Paul Heyman, because he is the wise man. Damn it! So,
and Walter says so much for the brand split. I mean, yeah, this is the time of the year where they just throw that out the window.
Oh yeah, they throw it out the window because the Crown Jewel is coming up, and they got to get, Unfortunately, Jey is on Raw. Do we possibly see Jey going back to SmackDown? Or is this? Here's a question for you guys. Here's a question. All right, so Jey comes back to be part of the Bloodline. Does he go back to being on SmackDown, or is this a one-off thing?
Might just be a one-off.
I mean, they're bouncing players all around now. Does it really matter? They'll show up when they need them to show up.
Right. But I just
remember the two general managers swap stars for a week.
There you go.
That's all right. Well, there we have it. Yes, Gino.
Yeah, so I just wanted to touch on the Heyman stuff just a little bit. Like we talked about it in an earlier video, but I would love to see Heyman do some face managerial work. And with WWE doing these new camera angles and backstage stuff, like I could kind of see like Jey being on the phone with somebody, right? And we don't know who it is, but as he's pulling his phone away, it flashes to the camera that it's like Heyman or something like that. And he's kind of trying to build that bridge because apparently Heyman is still at the shows. He's not just sitting at home. So I could see, something with as a good guy, Heyman, to really add some more fuel to this storyline.
Well said.
Yeah. This guy Experience sent in a $2 super chat, says the original Bloodline doesn't need help from Jey Uso winning without them. I guess this guy Experience missed SmackDown where Roman Reigns and Jimmy got beat up by the new Bloodline. When they got Jacob Fatu in there, Roman's in a little bit of trouble. So not against Solo, but Jacob Fatu.
Wait, so Aaron, what is he saying? The original Bloodline doesn't need Jey.
Right.
Who's part of the original Bloodline, and that's the feel-good reuniting, but this time they're not like the evil mob. It's more of the good guy revenge.
Yeah.
Come on, this guy. Come on, you know better than that. You've been on this show before.
Yeah, JJ.
I think our end game for WarGames is it's going to be Solo, the Tongans, Jacob, and KO versus Roman, Jimmy, Jey, Cody, and Sammy.
Yeah, it could be if they do 5-5.
Do it.
And then the way I would do it is I would have Jimmy start it for the OG team. That way Roman is locked in a cage with the 4 men he turned on for those few minutes until we get the next person in for the good guy side. And Roman's just got to sit there looking up at Cody Rhodes, who defeated him, Sammy, who he turned on, and Jey, who he turned on.
Yeah,
and
that's a
just
good
kind of
idea.
remember why they're here in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I like it a lot. I think it's a great storyline where Roman is humbled. He actually does need some help.
What you don't see on the other side of JJ's camera is all these dry erase boards of all these ideas.
Right.
Booking
I'm not turning
ideas,
my
right?
camera around because it's a horrid mess over here in the house. But no,
Reminds me of
this is
another
just the
house of a
stuff that goes
certain
through my brain when
wrestling
watching
writer.
wrestling.
Anyways,
No,
Gino.
Yeah, you were talking about Roman Reigns' humbleness and or humility, as it were, and we're seeing him on the business end of a lot more conflicts now than he used to be. Right? He kind of almost used to appear invincible, and now he's helping put the other guys over by taking these beatdowns, really selling it, similar to how The Rock, especially early on in his career, not or too early on, but people think of him as this invincible character, but he sold like the best of them. And I respect that Roman's doing that, obviously he's trying to help put over his family members and sell that they need Jay's help, but he didn't have to do that. Like we all know, he's the major draw to the show, and he could just come out there, wreck shop, wreck everyone, and leave, right? Like his old mantra used to be. So that's really honorable by him for sure.
All right, Aaron. A bunch of great ideas here, by the way, and that's what we do. We discuss the possibilities of what we think or what we want to see. Aaron, anything else before we go around and close up shop? Again, I wanted just to do a smaller show, since we just did one on Thursday. But we need another week of things to happen. We'll be back next Tuesday. So what else you got, Aaron?
Well, this guy experience, I do agree with what he said a little bit. Like they didn't do the best job, WWE, of building the new bloodline. They lost at Bad Blood, and I think they should have won that match. So I get what he's saying with that, but they did do the stuff on SmackDown where the Bloodline did beat down Roman Reigns and Jimmy. It's still 2-on-4, and as great as Roman Reigns is in God mode, he still has some serious competition, and they have protected Jacob Fatu for the most part. Like I said, without Jacob Fatu, I would totally agree with this guy. Like I think Roman and Jimmy would be able to take the Tongas and Solo on their own, but Jacob is the real difference maker. They've done a great job booking Jacob up to this point, and they should have done better with Solo. I do see where this guy's coming from with that, but what they're doing right now, I'm really liking it, and looking forward to what's coming next.
And I'm telling you, it's going to happen. The Rock will be the guy for the bad bloodline at some point, heading into his feud with Roman when it happens.
Yeah.
Because you need to be the head of the table of something. I'm telling you, that way, then it'll be, oh my God, The Rock's telling us what to do. And I'm sure that's when Jacob Fatu can even be next level. So,
yeah.
That's it, Aaron. That's it.
Right. We're all set.
So our last speak here. I'll start with you, JJ. Usually have plugs, right?
Yes, sir. You can follow all of us affiliated with the Simply Reliable Studios on YouTube, Jay Hebert Studios, Rage of Wrestling, good old Walter Cruz, who's been in the chat room, Noah Foster, Simple Man's Brand, and myself, the Casa D18 Studios. We are the only reliable SRS in professional wrestling, damn it.
Thank you, JJ. And I don't know who Tito's calling Captain Obvious, if it's somebody in the chat or me, but there are actually marks that don't think The Rock's going to have anything to do with this new bloodline and don't even think he's going to be part of WrestleMania or anything. So smarten up. That was for them. Go ahead, Gino.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys, for having me. You can catch me on my YouTube channel at Papagino0017. I'm happy to have been here and to talk with you guys all about these topics. I'm looking forward to another good week of wrestling. So thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. Big G.
Yes. You can follow me on YouTube if you like cats, or if you're a cat person, Harlan Joker 2021. X, NoDQ _ BigBallaG, TikTok, BigBallaG 1988, and on the Insta, NoDQ _ BigBallaG 1988.
All right. Don't seem so excited for all those plugs there. Thank you, Big G. All right, Aaron.
Yes, thank you.
Just stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. Buy a shirt at NoDQ.com/merch. Get that Debate King shirt that Virtue's wearing and pick up some of the other merchandise. Say yes to NoDQ. And shout out to this guy Experience who sent in, does Roman Reigns versus The Rock need the belt on the line? And thanks, Aaron. I
Do you
think
not watch the show? Yes. Right? Because the whole tribal chief thing for Roman Reigns for 3.5 years was built around those championships. You try to do it without, it's going to suck. See, it's not going to have that. It's just going to be Rock and Roman. Let's do this. It's going to have it. You watch. But hey, according to the one dirt sheet guy, Rock's not even going to be at WrestleMania. So
yeah, Gino.
So, Virtue, the only thing I would say in contrast to that is that not having the title on the line in that match allows it to be on the line in another match and elevate that match's hype versus, I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say here, but
how can The Rock be the head of the table claiming it if that's what's going to happen going into that feud and not have the belts that Roman Reigns had the whole time he was the head of the table?
No, I agree.
I know.
Yeah.
We've said that over the course of that run at times that the title wouldn't need to be involved. But I think it went so long, it meant so much. To me, it would be foolish not to at this point. They could still do it without the title, sure. But I think that I don't know, man. I think they're thinking there's a reason why The Rock held Cody's title. He's got his little fake championship. So, there's going to be something's going on with these titles during this whole thing. And Cody's in the middle of it, so the Cody fans are gonna, bite their nails, be nervous, be on the edge of your seat. But isn't that what wrestling's about?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And The Rock, I think, could very well be planting stories out there to keep people guessing. I agree with the comment earlier. Despite them saying CM Punk signed the contract last minute and they pivoted for WrestleMania, I still don't fully buy those stories because I feel like these guys have their game plan and they have all this very well thought out in advance. Like in the Vince McMahon era, I believe they were changing things week to week, but now I feel like they know where they're going, and I think they planted the seeds for WrestleMania 41 the night after WrestleMania, and The Rock coming out there with his title, getting in there, telling Cody they're not done. That's coming. I think it's coming first, but they can't keep putting off Roman Reigns versus The Rock. This is the time. They're setting it up here. We've all said it, The Rock being the head of this new bloodline, the one who was pulling the strings the whole time. I feel like he's got to beat Cody Rhodes at the Royal Rumble and then win the title, and then Roman Reigns beats him at WrestleMania.
And if that title is not on the line for that feud, that means The Rock and Roman are fighting for a head of the table, but yet somebody that beat Roman and showed up The Rock to help beat Roman is carrying that piece. It's just the way. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't see it any other way. I just can't.
Yeah,
yes,
JJ.
The only other way I could see it going, Virtue, is if Roman gets the Ulafala back and then Rock takes it from him. Because WWE has made a great history out of making non-title objects matter in their storylines. Look what they just did with Punk and his bracelet. This little $3 bracelet that some fan made for him was a huge anchor in that angle with Drew.
I agree with that.
If Roman gets the Ulafala back and then Rock is able to take it from him, maybe at Saturday night's main event, then they're fighting over who
that's going to be a
tribal
piece.
Chief is.
That's going to be a piece of it for sure, because Roman will get it back from Solo, and then that's when The Rock will. But I still think the title's got to be the piece there with it, especially with The Rock being involved. The Rock and that in the WWE title. He had it for that time with Cena. He had it back in the Attitude Era. It just makes sense. In this case, it's a prop for this head of the table, and that's what makes fans. Cody fights for it and this and that. It is the head of the table. You can't be a head of the table and have someone else running as the main champion, let alone you have another world champion on your other roster. You just can't. You just can't. Aaron?
Well, I was going to let Gino go. Go ahead, Gino.
Yeah. So I think and I appreciate that, Aaron. I think there's a huge distinction between head of the table and tribal chief, right? So if it's for the Ulafala, that's the tribal chief. If it's for the title, the main title, then that's for the head of the table. So for that, I for sure, like if you're going for head of the table, the title has to be on the line at that point,
And
for sure.
Rock said, or should I sit at head of the table?
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know.
I'm still trying to figure out what The Rock handed Cody that night.
There's that. There's that too.
And let's be real here. The Roman Rock match is going to be the final match of WrestleMania. Wouldn't it be better to have the world title on the line in the main event rather than have the world title in a non-main event match? You know, it should be the main event. The world title
WWE
should
title.
be the main event.
The WWE
title. Yes, the WWE title should be the main event. So, yeah, if it was me calling the shots, I'd say The Rock beats Cody Rhodes at the Royal Rumble. Cody got his moment. He got his WrestleMania moment. He can fight John Cena. They can come up with something, maybe Randy Orton dream match. Like they can do something.
And he'll have a chance down the road again. He'd be a heel champion.
Like we said last week. We said it last week. SummerSlam. They can have Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, the final match of the trilogy. And maybe Cody beats Roman then. And Roman, you know, wraps up his story. You know, he's doing Hollywood. He's moving on to other things. He's probably not going to be around on a regular basis too much. So Roman Reigns can put over Cody at SummerSlam, and Cody gets his spot back.
And Cody could be the heel for that too, and do Homelander Cody like we want.
Yeah,
because you can't do Homelander Cody without the title.
Yeah, we mentioned that last week. They could potentially do that as well. But I think Cody's got to step aside. I think Rock's got to have the title one more run for WrestleMania and do the absolute biggest box office match possible in Las Vegas. You know, that's the money match. Rock versus Roman Reigns, the main event for the championship, for everything. And that's going to be the biggest drawing WrestleMania of all time.
And we're good. Everybody get their last word in?
Yep.
Thank you. Another great show. Stay tuned. We'll be back next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Follow me on x.com if you dare at NoDQ_virtue. But that is it for Aaron, JJ, Gino, Big G, and the whole NoDQ crew and galaxy. This has been the NoDQ review, and we will see you again next time. Good night, everybody.